For years, the world saw El Chapo as the untouchable king of the drug world. A man who escaped prisons, built tunnels, and outsmarted governments. His name became a symbol of fear and power, even turning him into a legend in movies and music. But behind that fame was a dark truth. What was El Chapo really hiding? Why did power make him so dangerous beyond the drugs and money? Behind the myth was an obsession, one that revealed how far he would go to control others. Today, on the Narco Files, we uncover the truth behind El Chapo's secret obsession with young women. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we reveal the darkness behind the legend. The rise of a drug kingpin. Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán was born in a small, poor village deep in the Sinaloa mountains of Mexico. Life there was hard. His family struggled to survive, and school wasn't really an option. From a young age, he learned that in his world, success didn't come from honesty or hard work. It came from fear, money, and control. As a teenager, El Chapo watched the drug trade take over his hometown. The men with guns and trucks seemed untouchable. They had power, respect, and wealth. Everything he didn't have. So, he followed their path. In the 1980s, he started working for bigger drug bosses, learning how the business worked, how to move drugs across borders, how to bribe officials, and how to build connections in the shadows. By the 1990s, El Chapo had risen to the top of the Sinaloa Cartel, one of the most powerful criminal groups in the world. But power wasn't enough for him. He didn't just want money. He wanted control. He wanted people to fear him, obey him, and even admire him. The more power he gained, the more he believed he could take whatever, or whoever, he wanted. That belief didn't just shape his empire. It shaped how he treated people, especially women. A hidden pattern emerges. For years, the world saw El Chapo as a family man, married, religious, and devoted to his children. To many, he looked like someone who valued loyalty and tradition. But behind that image was a very different reality. As time passed, a darker pattern started to appear. Through court testimonies, investigations, and interviews with people who once worked close to him, a disturbing truth came out. El Chapo surrounded himself with young women. Some were drawn in by promises of wealth or safety. Others stayed quiet out of fear. This wasn't love or romance. It was controlled. El Chapo used his power to make people believe they needed him, turning relationships into a tool for dominance. To him, youth wasn't about affection. It was about ownership and influence. For years, this part of his life stayed hidden. But after his arrest and trial in the United States, the truth finally began to surface. Witnesses described how he used money, charm, and intimidation to keep control over those around him, especially women who had little power to fight back. These revelations destroyed the myth of El Chapo as a Robin Hood figure. Instead of a hero helping his people, the world saw the truth. A man who used his power to exploit the weak and silence those who trusted him most. The world of control. To understand El Chapo's actions, you have to understand the world he lived in, a world ruled by fear, loyalty, and silence. In his world, no one dared to say no to him. Whatever he said became law. He controlled everything, the drug routes, the loyalty of his men, and even the personal lives of those around him. Many women were drawn to his charm, wealth, or the false sense of safety he promised. But once they entered his world, they quickly realized they couldn't leave. El Chapo lived a life full of contradictions. At times, he could seem caring and generous, but in the next moment, he could turn cold and violent. Those who knew him best said he had two sides, the smiling man people admired and the dangerous one they feared. His need for control wasn't just about his empire, it was about his ego. He believed fear brought respect, and being desired brought power. But power built on fear never lasts. The more he tried to control others, the more he lost control of himself. Power and obsession. El Chapo's obsession with young women wasn't about love or attraction. It was about control. Being around them made him feel stronger, alive, and untouchable. He wanted to dominate, to have power over everything and everyone in his world. Psychologists often see a pattern in people with unchecked power. They start believing the rules don't apply to them. They confuse fear with respect and obedience with love. That's exactly what happened to El Chapo. He built a world where everyone said yes, where no one ever challenged him. This obsession became an addiction, not to drugs, but to control. Young women were easier to manipulate, easier to keep quiet, and they reminded him of the power he held over life itself. Behind his charm and quiet voice was a deep hunger to dominate. For him, power was more important than love, and in chasing it, he lost the ability to feel empathy, morality, or human connection. Voices of the victims. When El Chapo was finally caught and went on trial in the United States, some of his darkest secrets started to come out. Women who had been close to him shared how he used gifts, drugs, and promises to gain trust, and then fear to keep control. One woman described being near him like living in a golden cage. Everything looked beautiful on the outside, but there was no way to escape. Another said he made her feel like she had no choice but to obey him. Their stories show how power can silence people and hide the truth. Many of these women were too scared to speak for years, knowing what he was capable of. The trial didn't just expose a massive drug empire. It revealed a pattern of emotional and psychological abuse behind the legend of a famous drug lord. El Chapo wanted to look like a family man, but in reality, he was controlled by obsession and insecurity. His relationships were never about love. They were always about power. Emma Coronel, the wife who knew too much among all the women in his life. None became as well known as Emma Coronel, El Chapo's last wife. She was a beauty queen when they first met, young, admired, and full of dreams. To the outside world, she seemed devoted to him, always by his side through arrests, escapes, and scandals. But the truth was more complicated. Emma lived in the shadow of a man who controlled almost everything, even her life. She knew the dangers, the crimes, and the risks she faced. Still, she stayed, whether out of love, fear, or just the need to survive. Over time, Emma became a quiet witness to the world of El Chapo, his empire, his power, and his violence. When he was arrested for the last time, Emma continued to defend him in public. But the law eventually caught up with her too. She ended up in prison for helping him manage his cartel while he was behind bars. Her story shows the hidden struggles of those close to El Chapo. Even with wealth and luxury, they were trapped by fear, loyalty, and the illusion of love. When Emma was finally released, she seemed different, quieter, more thoughtful. Perhaps she had learned a hard truth. Living a life surrounded by lies, control, and danger always comes with a cost. The fall of El Chapo. For many years, El Chapo seemed untouchable. He escaped from prison not once, but twice. He built secret tunnels under entire cities and ran a drug empire that moved billions of dollars. To the outside world, he looked unstoppable. But no one can stay untouchable forever. His fall started when rivals turned against him and law enforcement got closer. In 2016, after a dramatic chase, Mexican authorities finally captured him. This time, there would be no escape. During his trial in the United States, the real El Chapo was revealed. Testimonies, secret messages, and witness accounts showed that he wasn't a hero or a clever outlaw. He was a man driven by greed, fear, and the need for control. The court didn't just hear about his drug crimes. They also learned how he used power to manipulate women and silence anyone who opposed him. The story of the fearless criminal was replaced by a different truth, a man who was deeply afraid of losing control. In 2019, El Chapo was sentenced to life in prison. For the first time, he had no power. He couldn't run, he couldn't command, he couldn't demand. He was just another prisoner, locked in a small cell, far from the world he once ruled. What his obsession reveals about power. El Chapo's obsession with young women wasn't just a personal problem. It was part of a bigger sickness, that often comes with too much power. When someone rises so high that no one dares to say no, they start to believe they own everything, even other people. They mix control with love and confuse fear with respect. This isn't only El Chapo's story. History is full of powerful people who fell into the same trap. Power feels good, but it can also make people arrogant. When someone starts thinking they are above the rules, they are often setting themselves up for a fall. For El Chapo, his obsession showed his deeper fears: fear of aging, fear of losing control, and fear of becoming irrelevant. The young women around him were not just companions. They were symbols of the youth, energy, and dominance he could no longer have. But the more he tried to hold on, the faster everything slipped away. His empire, his image, and even his freedom all vanished before him. Conclusion. Today, El Chapo sits in a maximum security prison in the United States, far from the empire he once ruled. The man once called the most powerful drug lord in the world now lives in silence, locked away from everything he built through fear and control. But was he ever truly free? Or was he always trapped by his own obsession? Behind the escapes, the wealth, and the fame was a man ruled by ego and the hunger to control others. His obsession with young women wasn't power, it was weakness. It showed how greed can destroy not only others, but the person who feeds it. In the end, his biggest prison wasn't made of steel. It was the one inside himself. If you found this story eye-opening, like this video, subscribe to the Narco Files, and join us as we keep uncovering the hidden truths behind power and corruption.